Okay, we're going to go ahead and get started tonight. We're going to begin tonight's meeting with the invocation given by Pastor Faith Escobedo of Rick Alonzo Ministries, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. Will you please stand?
Let's pray. Dear God, we just uplift this day to you and just thank you, God, for just everybody that's here today. God, I just pray for every single person. I just want to thank them for their service and what they do, for all of our policemen, our firemen, our councilmen and councilwomen, all of our public service, and all of our workers, God, who strive to make this city a better place and a safer place. I pray for wisdom and for guidance for every single topic that's on the agenda tonight. And we just lift all these things to you, believing, God, that you are going to provide the answer. Lord, we love you and thank you. It's in your name. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. We'll call tonight's meeting to order. Madam Clerk, can we get a roll call, please?
Councilmember Silva?
Present.
Councilmember Palomar?
Here.
Councilmember North?
Here.
Councilmember Smith?
Here.
Mayor Priscilla Jr.?
Here. First item is going to be to approve tonight's agenda. Entertain motions.
I'll make the motion. I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. So the first item we have up is under presentations and informational reports. Item number 1 is the Public Service City Award for Fire Captain Wayne Osborne. Wayne, if you could please come forward. Appreciate you. Read a little something to you, and then we're going to have a little presentation for you, so thank you. Wayne, please accept congratulations on behalf of the City Council. We sincerely thank you for the hard work in keeping our community a safe place to live, work, and play. Having dedicated individuals such as yourself gives Kingsburg an invaluable asset, especially when it involves the quality of life of our residents and visitors. You were nominated for your leadership and command presence during a significant incident that occurred on the 4th of July at the skilled nursing facility 1101 Stroud. With temperatures above 100 degrees, an issue with the cooling down the 82 rooms caused an electrical load problem that resulted in the electrical line melting and catching fire. You arrived and you requested additional resources from Fresno County Fire and Selma Fire, along with 2 additional ambulances. Being a lifelong resident of Kingsburg, you have developed many contacts and relationships with citizens and other groups. Knowing you were going to need a location to house the residents of the skilled nursing facility for the last several hours, you were able to work closely with Kingsburg Elementary School District to utilize a multi-purpose room at Rayford Johnson Junior High, located across the street from the facility. This again showed that you knew what needed to be accomplished and you put a plan in place. Throughout the incident, you had to work with many agencies outside the norm for the fire service. This includes both the county and state regulatory agencies for skilled nursing, Fresno County EMS, medical van transportation providers, other skilled nursing facilities, emergency managers, and school representatives. During the entire event, you represented the fire department and the city of Kingsburg in a professional manner. Your main purpose was the care and treatment of the residents and making sure that everyone was taken care of. This even included responding personnel because of the high heat. After all the patients were moved across the street to Rayford Johnson Junior High multipurpose room, it became evident that the residents of the facility could not return because of the high heat and other mechanical issues. Over the next 10 hours, all 79 patients were either transported to the hospital emergency room, another skilled nursing facility, or sent home with family. Caring for these patients and assisting with their move could not have been made possible without the hard work and skills that you exhibited on that day. We know you provide excellent service daily for the fire department, and your commitment and dedication to the health and safety of our citizens shows the character you bring to the city every day. So with that, we do want to give just an absolute sincere thank you. We appreciate you so much. I think we all remember that day. I think we all probably got phone calls that day. And you coordinating that, working with everybody, and I know it wasn't just you. And we acknowledge that, but at the same time, there was leadership there from you. And we do want to specifically acknowledge that and say thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Wayne.
So if you could stay up here, we have a small token of appreciation. If we could all get a picture with you, we'd appreciate that too.
I always get a couple. Okay.
So, just want to add, you're only as good as the people that you work with, so I want to thank my team. A lot of them are here, but some of them are out on call right now, but everybody did their part, and I just want to thank them as well for all their hard work that day.
Awesome. Thank you. Next, we're going to have the downtown bid trash can presentation by Chairman Leslie Carpenter, and we also have the Mid-Valley Disposal to present the operational update. Leslie, you can start and we can come up.
Okay, all right. Good evening.
Welcome.
How are you guys? Good evening, Mayor and City Council members. My name is Leslie Carpenter, and I am the current chairperson for the Kingsburg Business Improvement District. Last spring, we began a project to replace all of our trash receptacles in the downtown district. Ours had served their purpose, and it was time to improve, and just so much going on in our downtown, we just wanted a reflection of that. So we were so grateful to have been supported by city staff, City Council, and a great partnership with Joseph Kalpakoff and Isaac Kulikoff of Mid-Valley Disposal. Their funding helped boost our success in the number of receptacles that we are able to provide for our district. We are also proud to have been able to work with a local vendor, Mario Escobar of Kings River Casting. They're in Sanger. When we first started looking into this, we were going to have to do we did a national search for manufacturers, and then we came up with a local guy, which was great. We're also would like to thank Quinn Hurt of Oaten Oak, who is our social media manager for the business district. He designed all of the artwork for our receptacles. And the guys from the city, we want to just thank them in advance for getting them out. Everybody's been calling me and saying, I really like them. And so hopefully next year we'll be able to get a few more and just kind of look at what our use is and see if we need to provide any more. So that's pretty much it on trash receptacles. If Mid-Valley this morning, they made a very good point that they are here for our city all the time. Festivals, anything we need, anytime as a business owner, anytime I need something, they're there within like 30 minutes. They always take really good care of us. So I want to thank them not just for helping us in this, but just taking care of our city. And then there's one other important note that I want to just bring up before we close this evening, my statement, is that there are a couple changes coming to our bid board for board members. And we would like to thank two of our founding members and their outgoing members, Steve Safarjan and June Hess, for their service. Although they're not staying on as board members, I know that we can count on their continued support. And I just wanted to publicly thank both of them. June, is under the weather a little bit, but she's going to be back. And Steve had other obligations this evening. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Isaac and Tom's going to go.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor, Council Members, Isaac Kulikoff, District Manager at Mid-Valley Disposal. 2013, when my office got moved from Fresno to Kingsburg, it's been there ever since. I said, man, we got to get some new stationary cans down there. So I'm glad to see that they're finally down there, and they look great. The city looks great. Your tree looks great. You guys are going to have a great December 7th St. Lucia parade, and we're happy to be a part of it, be a part of the community, and hopefully everybody recognizes that we're here for the long run to support your community. It's a great place. With that being said, I've got some people here tonight that are going to present an update. It's good to provide council and the city with an update of what's going on with SB 1383, cleanup events, operation events. So I'll bring Thomas Hammond up. He's my programs manager for the recycling department, and he's going to talk about some state legislation and what we've been doing in your town. Thomas.
Good evening, Mayor, Council. It's nice to be here. Thomas Hammond, like Isaac said, South Valley Recycle Programs Manager. So I'll just get right into it. Things that we're going to talk about today: site assessments, recycling audits, some education that we've given out to the public, events that we've attended, a small Cal Recycle update, and then I will refer back to my operational colleagues to go over the cleanup report and the year-to-date tonnage. Site assessments this year is where we go out to businesses and make sure that they're being compliant, make sure they have the education they need, make sure they know what they're doing and supposed to be doing. So this year, we visited 235 commercial businesses, 163 multifamilies, and 206 residentials. Keep in mind, those are multiple visits to certain ones. That doesn't necessarily mean you have 163 multifamily units in the city, but we do visit them more than once to make sure that they understand what they need to do and continue to educate, make sure they understand the compliance efforts that need to be done. We talk about implementation with them, compliance, we give them education, we make sure that they understand if there's illegal dumping that they can always contact us, and if they see any bulky items being illegally dumped, just to get in contact with us and we can help alleviate that problem. Next is recycling audits. This is where drivers will find contamination in bins or cans, and they will tag it to let the generator know what the problem was, and then my department reaches out and educates them further. This year we had 47 residential commercial tags, CMAT tags, 22 commercial, 47 residential, 22 commercial, and a total of 69, which is a very, very low number, which tells me that the community is doing a very good job with compliance and separating the commodities properly. So that's a great, great number. These are just examples of the education that we're giving out this year. You have your SB 1383 informational guide, which is a compliance requirement with the bill. A recycling guide in the middle there. That is what we give to businesses if and when they are contaminated, or if and when we do a site assessment, just as another piece of educational material that they can use to help properly separate. And lastly is an instructional service guide. Again, you can see in all three of these, we kind of put the recycle guide in there. It's just a constant reminder of what goes where, so people are constantly understanding what they need to do moving forward, okay? Events. We did a lot of events. I only highlighted two, but we went to the Kingsburg Car Show, which we're at every year. Great turnout, great event. We have a lot of people show up to our booth. We brought 250 of the organic pails, and we got rid of all 250, so I know that more than 250 people have visited our booth, which is a great, great turnout for educational purposes and giving a chance to engage with the community and answer any questions that they may have that they don't feel like calling the hotline to find out. So it was a great turnout. I might butcher this name, but I'm going to go with Randolin Creek Community. All right, I got it. Thank you. That was a great turnout. We went and visited the community. We educated them about proper separation, food separation in particular, and then we gave them the organic kitchen pail, the countertop pail. So kind of a full circle education, and then giving them a piece to kind of promote that education and how to work forward. We also visited, not pictured, we also visited Washington School. We did a presentation from K through 2, and we also had a Touch a Truck event, which was an amazing turnout. The kids love to jump in, honk the horn, play with the gears, do all the stuff that they imagine doing when they get older, right? So that was a great turnout. To move to Cal Recycle update, you guys, we're still in the same boat where we're constantly educating, working on getting our compliance efforts. I will tell you that the city of Kingsburg is far beyond most of my other jurisdictions that I deal with as far as compliance. Daniel Galvez, who I don't think is here today, but does a fantastic job with making sure that the things that we need, he's giving it to us, and the things that he needs, we're in turn giving back to him. So you have a great public works director who does a great job with making sure that you guys are on point with implementation and compliance. As you can see, we're in 24, which requires local governments to take enforcement, which Daniel is currently doing with the Tier 1 and Tier 2 generators. He's doing inspections, and it's just been a really, really good relationship between us as the hauler and the Public Works Department. This is just another slide to show kind of the same compliance effort, just in two different ways. Again, we're in 24. We're still educating. We're doing annual compliance reviews, route review inspections, notice of violations, and penalties for violators. Those are Tier 1 and Tier 2 generators, so not the general public, but just people that need to be donating food. Like I said, Daniel does a great job. The city does a great job. You guys are really... Cal Recycle, to be transparent, uses you uses the city of Kingsburg as a model city for other cities when we have conference calls or site visits. They're constantly referencing what you guys are doing here to stay compliant. So that's a great job. That's all I have. Just a really quick update. I'm going to pass it back to Isaac Kulikoff, and if you have any questions, I'll jump back up after the presentation and answer them.
Thanks, Thomas. Yep. Cleanups. We have 2 biannual cleanups every spring, every fall. It's a great event. 3-day event down at our facility off of 392. It's easily accessible. We've got it coned off. We've got a ton of staff out there. We get you in and out. We'll take that second couch, that second water heater as well. We try to help out the public if they can only take one thing or a couple of things. So just a quick update on the most recent event. We had a total of 502 customers over the 3-day period. That's a lot of people coming through. About 4 tons of mattresses, 900 pounds of tires. You guys currently have a tire amnesty, which is fantastic, so those things aren't ending up in canals or in one of our trash cans and we got to pull it out. E-waste 224 pounds, refuse 31.5 tons, metal 20 tons, so you almost had a 50% diversion rate of where that stuff's being kept out of landfills as well. So not only, your curbside streets, it's being kept out of landfills and it's recycled. We'll have another one coming up in the fall sometime. Typically October. Daniel's pretty on point scheduling that with me, which is great because we perform about 17 other cleanups for other communities in the South Valley. Year-to-date tonnage report, what do I press here? Up?
Right arrow.
Okay. Commercial refuse, that's the truck that's going around picking up your Save Mart and your Starbucks, etc. Almost 2,200 tons of commercial refuse. This is a year-to-date number. Organics, 66 tons, give or take. We actually have commercial organics in the city of Kingsburg, which is outstanding, so we're doing our job, and Thomas plays a big part of that. So you've got, I skipped right to organics, 265 tons of recycling. Again, great job to Thomas and his team. That's a diversion rate of about 13. For commercial, that's a good number. Anything above 10% is a good number. On the residential side, 2,600 tons, recycling 950, organics 2,210. Like he said, Kingsburg knows how to get the things in the right carts, right? The green cart and the blue cart for sure. Especially the green waste and the recycling. That's a diversion rate of 54%. That's a huge number. Our guys are out there. We're running the same routes we did in 2014. They're outstanding routes on the residential side of things and commercial. And I think we have most of the same guys, about 3 of the same guys out there as well. So with that being said, I'd be happy to answer any questions. I want to mention first, though, December 13th, all y'all are invited to I think it's our 12th annual Recycling Forecast Luncheon at Harris Ranch, where all of our communities get together. You get a steak and a gift and get to hear a bunch of people talk about what's going on in their communities, how they're dealing with SB 1383. I think Cal Recycle provides an update, which can get a little boring sometimes, but it's good to be out there with all the other communities and kind of see what they're doing as well. So December 13th, you guys will get an invite for sure. Meet us out there.
Thank you very much. I know I'll speak on behalf of council. We appreciate you guys. I know that when we first started, this professional relationship, we just didn't know which way it was going to go. And you guys, from the onset, were committed to the community, and it hasn't stopped. I really thought that it would kind of die off, and it hasn't. You guys are all in for Kingsburg, and we really do appreciate you guys very much.
Thank you.
Any other council members?
No, just really appreciate the city cleanup days 2 a year because a lot of my neighbors use it, family, friends, and you got some of my stuff, old wood, bikes and stuff, so really appreciate those 2 days.
For sure.
You do,
Got it.
yeah.
Again, thank you very much. We
Thanks,
appreciate
guys.
your time.
Have a
Thank
good
you.
evening. Appreciate it.
Okay, next up, we're going to go into public comment. This provides an opportunity for members of the public to address the City Council on items of interest to the public within the Council's jurisdiction, which are not already on the agenda this evening. It is the policy of the Council not to answer questions impromptu. Speakers should limit their comments to not more than 3 minutes. For items which are not on the agenda this evening, members of the public will be provided an opportunity to address the Council as each item is brought up for discussion. Now, real quick, before we open it up for public comment, I know there's probably quite a few people here that want to talk about the recent planning commission meeting. I do want to just remind everybody that that's not on our agenda tonight, but we want to hear the public comment. I bring that up because as people come up, we want to talk back, but we can't yet. We have to wait until that's an agendized item. I don't want you to think that we're not listening to you or that we're being dismissive. I just want you to know that we're going to have to limit it to 3 minutes, and we just can't give much feedback back. So, and we also ask that all questions and comments are directed to council and not to staff. So with that, I'd like to welcome up the first person that would like to talk. As you guys come up, I'm going to ask that you state your name and whether or not you're a Kingsburg resident, and then we will go ahead and start your clock. Thank you for being here.
Good evening. Thank you, folks. My name is Blake Carlson, representing Kingsburg Evangelical Covenant Church, which has been a member of Kingsburg since 1907. I am not a resident of Kingsburg. I live just outside of town. So, but I was raised here. I just want to put you guys on, I guess, notice, for lack of a better term. We're going to enter into a restoration project, and I wanted to formally make you aware because it is on Draper Street, and it could be a little bit not uneasy, but just awkward with traffic and things like that from time to time. I don't see a big deal. We plan on starting in January. To the best of my knowledge, the only time we'd have to block any streets on Draper or Lincoln would be during a painting process. So the other item that I have in this paper that I'm going to let you guys take home with you and read, there's 2 major ash trees that we are considering removing. If that comes to a determination, I would request that the city of Kingsburg do that for us, mainly because it is a safety factor on the downtown Draper Street corridor. So, and then the other thing I would also like to request, we have the parking lot south of, not Suncrest, Citizens Business Bank now, which butts into your parking lot behind Model Drug. Both those parking lots need to be refurbished. We do maintain the landscape in our parking lot, and both the city's parking lot and our parking lot serve the downtown corridor. You guys need to refurbish your parking lot. I would request that you refurbish our parking lot at the same time, if you would be so kind. So.
Okay. Did you have something for council? If you could just go ahead and hand it to the clerk, she'll get it to us at the end of the meeting.
Great. Thank you, folks. I appreciate your service, and thanks for keeping Kingsburg.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Blake.
Appreciate you.
John Johnston, and I am a resident of Kingsburg. So start the timer. Here we go. Thank you, Mayor, members of council, for taking the time to listen to my comments. I wanted to bring attention to an item that came before the Planning Commission Board on November 14th agenda, Title 17, Amendment 2024-01, regarding rezoning of 4 pieces of property. The APN I am particularly concerned about is APN 396-02019, which is the property on 24 south of Tri-County. This piece of property was last sold earlier this February, which I would not normally find odd, except here we are 9 months later talking about a rezoning amendment that will not only allow, but force a high-density, low-income development on these properties. Question number 1, other than vacant lots, how were the proposed APNs identified, selected, and scheduled for rezoning? 2, have any of you had a chance to view the list of APNs that Sherman Dix proposed at the Planning Commission meeting? 3, what does the city stand to lose or miss out on by not complying with the December 31st deadline? 4, if the deadline of December 31st, 2024 was the deadline, when was the city notified about this low-income compliance order specifically? 5, who was responsible for bringing a sound and well-advised proposal to City Council that not only meets state requirements, but is an actual viable solution? 6, who was responsible for hiring the first firm that did a poor job of proposing a solution for this state mandate, and was that firm paid for that poor job? Who was responsible for hiring Provost and Pritchard to come up with this solution to propose these 4 properties be rezoned for high density? Was Provost and Pritchard then paid for that solution as well? 8, why does it seem as though we were notified in a rush? The date on the document sent out to the neighbors and I in a 300-foot radius proposing this amendment was dated October 30th, which most neighbors discarded. The notice did not leave much time to put thoughts together to come voice our concerns 2 weeks from the date that notice was sent out. 9, why are items of this matter printed in the Business Journal I encourage you to do a quick search on who the target audience is of the Business Journal, and then ask yourself if it's the appropriate place for the city to print information like this to inform your constituents about potentially catastrophic demographic changes to our communities. I think that if you look it up, you'll agree that posting in this way lacks more than a little transparency. 10, why is it brought to Planning Commission with very little to no insight to the APN selection process, and then the reason for the December 31st deadline that must be met has no idea what the ramifications would be if we didn't comply? 11, why is it that the Planning Commission unanimously votes to not recommend the rezoning of these properties to the City Council due to there not being enough information presented to the board, but still this item will be on the City Council December 4th agenda? Why have a Planning Commission at all? Last point. 12, I would ask you to please investigate who owns this property and then research that LLC property owner, and then ask yourself, what is the probability that this property will be developed at a maximum 30 dwellings per unit per acre? Then I would ask you to take a drive to a similar high density development and ask yourself if what we're trying to do here is going to make our community better. Or are we just caught in the trap of relying on the state's mandates that we must comply with in order to receive more grant funding that always comes with so many strings attached so we can grow bigger, we can hire more police officers because we have more crime, and round and round it goes. Look,
I appreciate, Mr. Johnson, I'm going to need you to wrap it up. I know you got a little more time. I need you to just a couple more sentences, wrap it up, and that's about as far as we can go.
Couple sentences. I
Quick
wasn't born and raised, I appreciate it. I wasn't born and raised in Kingsburg, but my kids were. And the reasons that we put down roots here 24 years ago are rapidly disappearing. Council members, I ask you to ask yourselves, when is enough enough? Thank you so much.
Appreciate you. Ready when you are.
Hey, good evening. I'm Rick Jackson. Thank you guys for serving the city here. I'm here to speak against the apartments that are proposed to be behind Tri-County. Kingsburg is a special place, and California hates special places. California wants to make make Kingsburg look like all the other towns. If I'm not mistaken, if this council, and I'm really, even the folks here, if this council wanted to stop housing altogether, which I think that a majority of the city voters here would say, yes, please stop, they can't stop it. The state is the bad guy here. You guys gotta understand it. It's sad, but these guys are forced to build, and they're forced to build Section 8 housing. Section 8 housing, I'm going to say it for these folks, it's crime. Section 8 housing is crime, and if it's an apartment that can be Section 8 housing, it will be Section 8 housing, and it will be crime. So this is really a war against the state. But the problem is the people blame you guys. You know what I mean? So my recommendation is you guys should have some flyer that a layman can just say, hey, look it, this is what you guys are up against, and this is why, I just think that'd be helpful if someone came in and says, hey, why aren't you guys doing this? You can just say, hey, look, here's what we have to do. So that'd just be a little bit of a side recommendation there. Hey, listen, I'm currently on the Kingsburg High School board. Measure K probably isn't going to pass. And if our high school, if kids were the water in a sponge, our sponge is starting to drip, okay? We need more classrooms. We are about maxed out right now. I'm not sure if you guys are aware of this. You probably know there's on Academy there's going to be a 68 apartment thing over there. Is that in your guys' district? Is that in the city? You don't have to ask. You don't have to answer me. But I hear there's a 68er or 86, I don't know, one over on Academy that's coming up. And also, what's that? Yeah. And then you guys might not be aware of this. Traver is potentially going to be 4,000 units in Traver scheduled in the next 5 years. All those kids come to Kingsburg High School, man. We got to stop housing. I got to hurry going in here. So listen, yeah. So that's gonna happen. So hey, listen, I'm here to adamantly discourage that not being there. Hey, listen, if I'm you guys, and the state is making you guys put in crime housing, you need to put all the crime housing in one spot. I know that sounds horrible, but I mean, this is a war. I mean, you can't put, hey, let's put a little bit of crime here and a little crime here and a little crime here. No, man, just put it all in one spot. I mean, it's sad, but it's war. We're not reaching across the aisle anymore. So anyway, hey, listen, Kingsburg's
easy to lose and it's hard to keep. You guys have heard that before. So anyway, if we can't stop it, I just want to encourage you guys to try to get that stuff in one area and not spread it out. And then it would be a lot better for the guys, the police and everything, if they could, they can monitor it better. I'm not old enough. I remember when the Herald departments came in, it just was like, let's double the police department and have a guy camped out there. So anyway, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming. If you could just state your name.
Hi, my name is Laura Guy. I'm a resident of Kingsburg. Ditto what he said. I am writing to you today to bring to your attention the concern I have for the projected housing element plan and zoning project, specifically on Site 102, which is parcel 369-02019. Myself, along with other residents, only within a 300-foot radius, were notified in October by the Planning Commission of the possibility of specific site to be zoned for a minimum of 20 dwelling units per acre. Given that this is a 2-acre space, that seems to be a very high dense population in this very small space, which will be allocated for low income housing. As a house owner, within the 300-foot radius, this makes me very concerned for a number of reasons. This will dramatically impact and bring down the value of the homes within this radius, including mine. Do I need to be preparing to sell my home now? This will increase traffic in an area that is already highly populated with traffic and prone to accidents, Sierra and Madsen. This will invade the privacy of residents and homeowners that are currently on the perimeter of this specific parcel, and especially in this 300-foot radius. That is literally our backyard. Do you know the height restraints, the distance from our homes? What are the parameters that will be put in place to protect our privacy? This will bring high amounts of construction noise to an area that has just undergone a large construction project, not only in Summerlin, but the Linnea apartments. Low-income housing typically draws in a high number of residents in a small area, which brings crime. Typically also a negative impact on the neighborhood with less care for property and more crime. In the 2023 through 2031 housing element document, it states on page 1H41 that Site 102, this parcel that I mentioned, the property owners expressed interest in developing residential projects on their sites and had already had several conversations with city staff to discuss opportunities. That information was withheld from us in previous meetings. To me, that sounds like if this gets passed, it is a done deal, and it will only be a matter of time once the parcel is approved for that zone that they will seek to sell to a developer, which is not what it sounded like at the Planning Commission meeting. It was brought up as a last-minute plan to accommodate the state regulation. Why were residents not only notified of this in October when this deadline is at the end of 2024? And it was noted in the notes that these meetings had taken place as early as May of 2024. As a resident, I feel like a lot has been withheld in order to meet these zoning requirements from the state. I also understand that there could be potential repercussions if this is not approved. But I ask, what is the cost of moving forward? Just to make the state happy and concede? Why is there so little time to make changes in order to make a better plan of action? Put it all in one location. Why isn't there enough time to rezone? And most importantly, aren't the residents' concerns more important than what is being pushed down our throats by the state? We love our town and our home, and we do not want to see it suffer for the sake of a quota or state regulation. We do not want to feel pushed to sell our home so that we are not directly impacted by this decision. We ask you to highly consider following the Planning Commission's advice and not approve this parcel for this zone. Please consider seeking an extension to scout a new parcel of land for approval. I thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you. Do we have anybody else who would like to come up for a public comment? Come on up. Thanks for coming. If you could just state your name, you come up.
Hi, good evening. Priscilla Perez Chica. I live here in Kingsburg. I'm also a resident of Summerlin. I live in Plumas, so I'm here also in opposition of the apartment complex that is being proposed for the Tri-County, or behind the Tri-County area. I live on Plumas. I can see the lot from my backyard. And despite being able to see the lot from my backyard, I did not receive a flyer notifying us about this proposed project. Laura informed me yesterday. She sent me the flyer, said a 300-foot radius. I feel like that is such a short radius to notify the residents. I feel that the city did not do its due diligence in informing us on that street and everyone else in the neighborhood. I went out and spoke to residents that live in the Linnea apartments. They also said they didn't receive any notification. Looking at the flyer and looking at your guys' Facebook post that invited people to come to the commission meeting, there's nothing on there that says we are going to build low-income housing. To me, you are excluding people from this process by not properly notifying us. To me, you are purposely withholding information. As I'm listening to my neighbors speak to you, I'm watching faces, and I'm seeing the smirks and the faces that are being made, and I find it very disrespectful. I work in policy. I understand what it is like to have to meet state policies and regulations, but I feel like this is moving very quickly for compliance reasons. And I don't think that this process has been done in a way that you are including our voices and our opinions. We don't want this. You all know how much we have spent to live in Summerlin. You all approved that development. We don't want a low-income housing right behind us. As Laura said, you all are trying to put a lot of people in a small, dense area. That means you're probably going to build up. We want privacy. My daughter deserves to play in her backyard without having people look in our backyard. I worry about that, and we are planning to move and sell our home. If I wanted to live in a neighborhood like that, I'd move to Selma. I'd live in Fresno. So I hope that you take our concerns seriously and that you all put a pause on this, because I feel that you all are doing this very quickly to meet a deadline. And like I said, I work in policy. I understand all that. I read the report. But I think that you all need to take the time and provide the residents an opportunity to speak. I didn't receive anything from you, Mayor, saying, hey, you're my constituent. This is what's going to happen. No town hall meeting. None of that. So had it not been for Laura, I wouldn't be here today. And I feel that had we been given more time, a lot of my neighbors would have been here as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else for public comment? Once, twice, one more. All right, come on up.
Okay. My name is Erica, and I'm a resident of Summerlin. Okay, I'm a resident of the Summerlin community, and I'm concerned about the Site 102 and the parcel that's going to be built right by Linnea Apartments. I find it to be very unethical, and abuse. And I'm going to emphasize the word abuse of power to not inform the residents in that neighborhood and your constituents. You guys are supposed to be servants of the community. I work for the state, so I'm familiar of how the state runs. And I'm familiar very much so on Section 8 housing, because I work in Fresno. I have seen how Section 8 housing has destroyed neighborhoods, not just neighborhoods, but in towns. I have seen how Section 8 housing, the type of demographic it brings demographics that are addicted to drugs. It brings demographics that are prone to certain crimes. It also brings in gangs. If I wanted to live in that, I would stay in the city that I work, in Fresno. I would be in the west side, but I chose not to be southwest side. And also, the members of Kingsburg chose to live in Kingsburg for a reason, and we chose to pay a certain price, a certain sticker price for these homes, for the Summerlin homes. By bringing that in, it destroys the property value. So I feel that you guys should take the concerns and listen to the voices of your constituents. And the city of Kingsburg should cancel this project. If you want to keep your town a certain type of town where it's safe for people to go running, it's safe for people to go for walks, then you should cancel the projects. Because people that live around Section 8 housing, like I mentioned, I work in Fresno, they don't have that luxury to walk in certain neighborhoods in certain parts because of crime, because of certain people that are prone to during certain things, such as theft, home invasions. So if you want your town to be nice and inviting and want people to live and make a home, I would cancel the project. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else for the public comment? Last chance? Okay, we will go ahead and close public comment for tonight. I would encourage everybody, when this does come back in front of council, to go ahead and come on back to give us kind of an opportunity to explain what's happening and maybe give us a chance to defend ourselves with some of the comments, which we can't do tonight. We do appreciate your comments, and all of you were heard. I'm going to turn it over to staff for a staff update on this if we can, please.
Just very briefly, just so you know, if you received a notification the first time, you will receive another notification. We're required by law to put out a public hearing notice, which is what will occur on December 4th. So 2 weeks from tonight, the council will meet. So just so you know that, that's already going to happen. We do have a call with HCD tomorrow, so we're hopeful to have some more of those questions answered and, by the 4th. So that's all I have.
Awesome. Thank you. And again, everybody, we're hearing what you're saying. We wish this could be more of a conversation, and it will be. Come back when it can be a conversation, because right now all we can do is listen. I just want to reinforce that to everybody. With that, public comment will be closed, and we will move to the consent calendar. That is, items on the consent calendar are considered routine and can include recommendations from staff and shall be acted upon in one motion of the council. If a council member requests additional information or would like to pull an item for discussion, that item should be pulled from the consent calendar and acted upon separately. A motion to approve the consent calendar is deemed to include a motion to waive a full reading of any ordinance or resolution on the consent calendar. I'm going to have a couple to pull. Do we have any members from council that would like to pull any items?
No.
Okay, so from council, I'd like to pull items 10, 11, 12, and 18. With the exception of 10, 11, 12, and 18, I will entertain a motion for the remainder of the consent calendar.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, consent calendar passes. We can start with items 10, 11, and 12. Those are planning commission appointments based on my recommendations. I'd like to pull all three of those items and stay those appointments until I can get a little bit more information regarding the planning commission members. And Madam Clerk, if you would, I would like to have everyone that is a potential appointment to the planning commission come to the next meeting where we can discuss it with them in person. All four, please, that applied. So my recommendation is that we just stay that for this meeting, if everyone's okay with that. Is it okay if we make a motion to table that for 2 weeks? And we'll do that collectively as items 10, 11, and 12. Can I get a motion for that?
I'll make a motion to table it.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, those will be tabled for now. And I'd like to also pull item 18 for any possible recusals.
I need to recuse myself from this item because I brought it forward to council, so I'll step out while you vote on it, and then I'll come back.
Thank you. And just procedurally, so you know, generally when we recuse ourselves, it's just there's some sort of a conflict. And they have to leave, we go through it, and then she can come back in as soon as that item's done. So item 18, I don't have any comments on it. Does anybody have any comments on item 18? If not, can we get a motion to pass item 18?
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, that carries. Councilmember Smith, can you grab one, please? Thank you. Welcome back. We will now move to our regular calendar, starting with item 19, which is the Kingsburg District Chamber of Commerce update, presentation by President Reggie Kirky. Welcome back.
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, city staff, thanks for having us back again. Seems like it was just 2 weeks ago we were here. It was, I guess. Lots happened in 2 weeks. Last we talked, we were on a long Sunday, we called it, with the chamber while we were trying to figure out some logistics legally on what we need to do. Since then, last Thursday, we had a board meeting taking the opinion of our legal counsel and opinions of our research. The board members present unanimously agreed to reopen the chamber and go back to business as usual for the reasons that we believe, and legal counsel for us also believes, that we are a mutual benefit organization, meaning we are not required to register with the Attorney General's office, as per many conversations back and forth. So we don't have anything officially in writing from them, but we are still working that angle. So as far as the chamber is concerned, it's business as usual for us. Tree lighting is going to happen next Friday, and Christmas parade's right behind it. So things are back to normal. All of our staff are back in place. We're here to do whatever we need to do. We did learn a little bit from it. One thing I charged our board and staff with was we took a look at that list from the Attorney General's office and filtered it down to Kingsburg and said, hey, let's reach out to these organizations we know and help point them in the right direction if there's something that they're missing also, so they don't end up in a similar situation as us. So we've been already in contact with quite a few organizations in town to help them out, and have no problem helping out others if they have questions on where they're at. We're not lawyers, but we can point them in the right direction at least. That's kind of what we do as a chamber, so it's part of our mission. We also met with a representative from Economic Development Commission of Fresno County. Okay, I had to get it right. There's too many all of those, acronyms out there. And had a really good conversation with her. And we have, I think, some really good opportunities in the future to work together, to work towards a Chamber of Commerce that is really here to help impact our businesses and potential businesses in town. So great resource. Just wanted to give you guys that update. But anything else? No, that's about it. Okay, that's all I've got for an update, but I'd be more than happy to answer any questions.
Okay. We will start with council discussion or comments, questions.
I had a quick question. Reggie, so what's your guys' designation going to be now? It's not a 501c6, it's, what is it?
We're still a 501c6.
Okay.
501c6 is what a Chamber of Commerce would be listed
Okay,
under.
so that won't change.
That won't change. Really, the goal was, as we look back at it, the Chamber of Commerce has been around for 102 years. That's a really long legacy to just erase and start over with. So our hope was to keep that. And everything points in the direction that we should be able to do that. So really nothing changes. We just have to have a conversation with the Attorney General and make sure we're on the same page still.
Okay, so let me understand. So there will or there won't be a nonprofit designation?
We are a tax-exempt organization.
Okay.
That's a 501c6.
Okay.
Right. We are not a charitable organization.
Okay, thank you.
We cannot accept donations of money or assets.
Thank you for the clarity.
Everything?
I was at the meeting, so I have no questions.
Then we'll, is there any public comment? Would anybody like to speak to this from the public? Come on up. Into the mic if you can, just so everybody at home can hear.
Chris Peterson, resident of Kingsburg. I have a couple of questions. First of all, there was a board meeting last Thursday, but yet members of the chamber were not invited to that meeting. Why was there no transparency in the membership being invited? I mean, the question is for them because they gave the presentation.
Sure. Do you have a series of questions or just the one?
What?
Do you have multiple questions or just the one?
Well, no, I have a couple. So why was there no transparency in that meeting last Thursday so that members who would want to attend could attend?
The best way I can answer that is our bylaws don't require notification of members of board meetings.
Okay, but you didn't think anyone might want to show up? Secondly, the Attorney General sent multiple letters to the Chamber office in 22 and 23. Why were those not addressed prior to the one in January of 2024? Why were the letters from the Attorney General from 2022 and 2023 not addressed or not discussed? Or why does no one seem to know what about those letters? Did they just magically get eaten by the mail ferry or what?
Let me, hold on just a second. What I'm going to try and do, Chris, just to maintain the order of it, is have you ask your questions. That'll be your public comment for it. I can't have it become a back and forth. No,
I thought you wanted questions. So
I do.
that
I
they
want
could be
I
answered.
want all of your questions, and then they'll have an opportunity to come up and answer them. It just can't be a bunch of
Okay.
back and
Well,
forth.
I
So everything you
apologize.
got, no, you're good.
I
You're good. We
misunderstood.
want to hear your questions, but if you could just tell us what all your questions were,
Okay.
and then I want to give them a chance to respond to it.
Okay, so the 22 and 23 from the Attorney General's office that no one seems to know what happened to them, that maybe could have avoided what we just went through. Maybe, we don't know. There's a big unknown. And then, what plans does the chamber have to implement some sort of office routines regarding systems, some sort of system or protocol that many businesses or many even nonprofits have? Now, they may vary from nonprofit to business depending upon the size, but some sort of protocol so that these magically missing pieces of mail that no one knows about doesn't happen again. Okay.
Okay, I want to give the chamber a chance to respond to it. Again, just real quick, I'm not going to have a bunch of back and forth with it. I'm going to give you an opportunity to respond to it, and then we'll move on to more public comments if there are any.
Mr. Mayor, to address those questions, those have already been answered in previous conversations and at previous meetings. I would encourage anybody at our next regular board meeting that we will announce and put that information out, that if they have those questions to come to us and ask them so we can address them then.
Okay. And I know that a lot of these are going to be chamber issues, and I would encourage them to be addressed at your chamber meetings,
Yes.
those public meetings, just to make sure everybody's well aware, that you're a 501c6 in town. You're not an asset of the city. So we just have to be a little bit careful with the back and forth that happens at chamber, but we appreciate the questions, appreciate your rebuttal. Do we have anybody else from public comment that would like to come speak?
Hi, Leslie Carpenter, Downtown Business Improvement District. I'm going to just have a comment. There's a lot going on about this situation. At the end of the day, I feel pretty strongly about this. There needs to be respect. There needs to be decorum. There needs to be cooperation, and there needs to be a little bit of trust and a little bit of grace. I'm going to ask our community and our business folks to extend grace and cooperation to all parties. Take a breath. Take a breath. Let them work this out. The business district has always been there for the chamber. We will continue to do so. That's all I have to say.
Okay, thank you. Do we have any more? Sure.
Chris Peterson, I haven't changed my name. This is more a comment for the record. In reading the minutes from 2 weeks ago.
Which minutes?
The minutes of the chamber,
Of the city?
not chambers, the city council meeting from 2 weeks ago. When the chamber gave their presentation, in the minutes it said that the chamber was 120 years old, and I realize that people could have misspoke or accidentally said 120 years old. My point is it's 102, and that may seem like I'm splitting hairs, but what's going to happen when we're all dead and someone's looking at minutes and they say, well, 120, 102? Just like right now, we don't know what happened 102 years ago because all those people are dead. So, and I will not, do not expect or want Abigail to change the minutes as she heard them as on the recording, because that would be illegal and I don't want to get her in trouble. So my purpose of bringing this up is to make a correction of the minutes, or whatever term you want to use, not a comment on the minutes, so that it's noted that the chamber is not 120 years old. And again, that could just be an honest misspoke, you know, you're nervous or whatever. So I just wanted to make that so that it is in the record, so that there's not a confusion of that. Okay?
Thank you. Do we have any more public comment? If not, I will bring it back to council or staff if there's any further discussion on this.
I just have one question. The next board meeting is when, Reggie? I missed the date. Do you know it, Laura?
December 10th.
December 10th.
Yeah, December 10th.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I just have one final comment. I want to thank city staff, council members, everybody that's, you know, done your part to support us and help us out through this, and the community and the different groups that have stepped up when we weren't available to help us out in Lions Club, and Steve Safarjan and a bunch of other people were really there to help make sure that this continued to go, which I think is a big testament to this community. The majority of this community is supportive of the community, and we really appreciate that. And that, I'll leave it at that.
Sure. Any other council discussion? You have something?
No, it's a tough time for the chamber right now, but I think you guys are doing the right thing, you know. And just, once you guys get 100% back in order, you know, continue the good work, you know, with all the festivals and festivities. It's been great, so thank you.
Thank you.
I'll say something.
Go ahead.
You go ahead. I was just going to say thank you for your service.
Thank you also for, I know you at the meeting had talked about other Kingsburg names that are on that same list that you as a chamber, because you support businesses, are going to reach out and help them through the process of making sure that similar things don't happen with them. And then I really appreciated Leslie's comment. One of the things through all this difficult time that we have to remember is that the chamber is here to help make Kingsburg, Kingsburg. Like all of the festivals that your volunteer board helps to put on, also on our behalf, it's what makes our town special. I think one of the people at the beginning said, like, we have a special town. And even though these things are hard, and I know that your board has had to deal with a lot of harsh comments and a lot of hard things lately, like, we just as Kingsburg need to remember that we need to continue to support making Kingsburg, Kingsburg. And so it was nice to see all of the people that came alongside of you. And we're stepping up in your inability to do so. And so I'm just happy to see that we're able to have our tree lighting and San Lucia coming up. So thank you.
Kingsburg really is a battleship. It's not a cruise ship. Everybody has a role, and they all play it really well. So,
thank you.
To piggyback on what Laura was talking about there, you know, you guys are instantly up and running again. I mean, I went to a committee meeting last night at the chamber for the car show that doesn't happen until the spring. So I commend you guys for getting right back in the mix and attempting to, you know, make these festivals and events the best they could possibly be way ahead of time. So I appreciate that, and I'll give a little bit more detail in my council member report at the end of council tonight. So thank you guys, appreciate it.
Any other comments? Okay, if no, we will go, this is informational only, so we'll go ahead and close it. Thank you. Appreciate you guys coming. Now we'll move to item 20, the Townsend Public Affairs Legislative Update and Agreement Consideration. Presentation by Spencer Street from Townsend. Thanks for making the drive.
Absolutely. Mayor, council members, thank you for having me tonight. I'm here to provide an update on legislative and funding activity both in Sacramento and in Washington, D.C. So overall, yeah, legislative activity both in Sacramento and DC, and funding at both levels, state and federal government, and to give kind of a forecast of issues we anticipate in 2025 as well, and then to recap our advocacy program at Townsend Public Affairs. In Sacramento, it was another busy legislative year. About over 2,000 bills were introduced, with some left over from last year, about 400 two-year bills from 2023 that the legislature had to dispense with. About 1,200 of those actually reached the governor's desk, and he signed approximately 1,000 of them, a little over. So it was a busy year. And some of those issues, housing and land use was huge. The state is still grappling with a housing shortage as heirs are trying to build more, keep Californians housed. Also, we were hit with a pretty big budget deficit, almost $40 billion. The state had to move some funding around, defer some spending to out years, and also make some cuts to come back into passing a balanced budget. Public safety was huge. There were a lot of stories statewide of retail theft, drug trafficking that members took very seriously. The governor acted as well. He had a package of bills that members sponsored, and then there was also Prop 36 on the ballot to go a little bit further. And federal community project request funding came back at the federal level. That was gone for several years. It's made a resurgence over the last couple. At the state level, there weren't any district funding requests for members, but with the budget outlook for next year, we're hoping that more funding can come back to communities like Kingsburg. Going through some of the housing bills, there were hundreds of them this year. I want to highlight specifically two of these. Assembly Bill 1893 by Assemblymember Buffy Wicks. This bill was signed into law, and it prohibits local governments from denying a builder's remedy project if the city's housing element is not in compliance with HCD. This was in response to some stories about cities that self-certified their housing element, and builders or developers came in, tried to use a builder's remedy to develop a project, circumvent local government, and this bill now says, no, if a developer comes in, wants to use a builder's remedy, they can if HCD says that local government's housing element is not in compliance with state standards. Received a lot of pushback from local governments, but has still pushed forward. Assembly Bill 98 by Assemblymember Juan Carrillo. That bill was signed into law and will require new setback and design standards for warehouses and distribution centers, but also requires cities to update their circulation elements. Right now, that deadline's approaching pretty quickly, but there are talks right now in the state about some cleanup legislation to address a lot of the concerns. This bill came up in the last week of session at the end of August. It was rushed through policy and fiscal committee hearings, pushed to the floor, members spoke on it, debated it. It went on quite a while. It was a close vote, but ended up passing. But members are already keen on coming back and fixing some of the problems that were in that bill.
Is that funded at all?
No.
Those requirements? Of course not.
Of course not.
Got it. Unfunded mandate. Got it.
Yes, another unfunded mandate. As you all know, circulation elements are expensive. This one will require circulation elements to include trucking routes for any new distribution centers. Public safety. These are a couple of the bills that were in the governor's legislative package. Senate Bill 905 by Senator Scott Wiener. It closes the locked door loophole. This loophole required prosecutors to prove that a car door was locked before they can bring a charge of breaking into a vehicle. Now, with that loophole closed, forcible entry is the only thing that needs to be shown to bring such a carjacking auto theft charge. Assembly Bill 1779 by Assemblymember Jackie Irwin will allow theft charges across multiple jurisdictions to be consolidated into one case if they involve the same defendant or defendants or same stolen property. What this is in response to is organized retail theft, where the same defendant or defendants might go into different counties, steal things from stores. Those district attorneys have to bring separate cases in their jurisdictions. This will allow them all to agree, bring one single case in one jurisdiction if they agree. Senate Bill 982 permanently codifies the organized retail theft statute. That statute was set to sunset. This permanently keeps it in code. It's a great move forward. And Assembly Bill 2943 allows the aggregation of the amount of goods stolen in theft crimes for bringing retail theft charges and grand theft charges. It also expands tools for peace officers to make arrests. Under this bill specifically, law enforcement officers will be able to make arrests without a warrant of someone who is shoplifting, not in that law enforcement officer's presence, if certain criteria are met. So it gives more tools for law enforcement, expands the use of diversion for certain drug crimes, and then again, expands those aggregation statutes. The budget, again, almost a $40 billion budget deficit at the state level. Years of spending are catching up with the state, and there are the state revenues have not necessarily kept up. In the last couple of months, revenues have actually started to rebound, and this morning the Legislative Analyst's Office came out with a report saying that this next year, 2025, the budget will be mostly balanced, but more deficits into 2026 and beyond, potentially in the double-digit billions of dollars again. But this past year, there were a number of cuts proposed to a lot of good programs for local governments. Most of those accounts were all kept, but there were reductions in several of them. One of the hot issue areas to keep funding off of the state books was through bonds. Senate Bill 867 was one of those to put the climate bond on the November ballot. Issues $10 billion of funding for, and local governments will be eligible for different climate resilience programs, flood response, disaster response, wildfire mitigation, and also parks and open space funding as well. That's something that passed overwhelmingly on the budget, on the ballot, and we're looking forward to more funding coming to local governments. Looking out into 2025, about 25% of the state legislature are new members, including Assembly Member-elect Alexander Macedo covering this area. Townsend Public Affairs is close with her and her new staff. Looking forward to working with her representing the city. Fire insurance affordability, not only affordability but availability. Californians everywhere are seeing their home insurance policies dropped by a number of insurers that are not writing new policies and are also leaving the state. A lot of local governments are chiming in, hearing the same thing from constituents that this is unacceptable. The state Department of Insurance is promulgating new regulations to start to move the needle on bringing insurers back into the state. That will ultimately raise rates, though. That's what they've been after. They want to raise rates. They want to start looking at potential losses instead of past losses to be able to set rates. Those are some of the new regulations going through, and Cal Cities, Townsend Public Affairs are all advocating for reasonable measures to make sure that insurance is not only available but affordable. Sales tax reform has been on the docket for a long time. That's something that we anticipate coming up again with Bradley Burns and with how the state and local governments work on sales tax, especially when the state is seeing budget deficits. They're going to start looking at not only reducing spending but trying to increase revenue as well. Potential deficit again, things are looking good. Revenues have come in pretty high with the stock market rebounding, and also the tech sector has started doing pretty well as well. However, a lot of those higher revenues are already spoken for by previous spending, a lot in the health and human services sector as well. Community reinvestment, a lot of the funding at the state level will of course come back to communities. That's what we want to try and do, try and minimize unfunded mandates, but also rebuild a lot of California communities that need some extra support. Cap and trade investments, cap and trade reauthorization is, we're hearing it's very much on the table. It might be a blanket reauthorization. They might go back in and tweak some of the programs, but we are anticipating cap and trade being at the forefront again. Federal funding updates. Townsend is happy to report that the city's earmark requests are still alive and well, even with the new administration coming in. The fire and EMS ambulance and the police department equipment are in the federal appropriations bills. We are still watching them. The feds still have to come to a new continuing resolution into 2025. We are, of course, working with the sponsoring members and with other federal departments to make sure that those funding allocations stay there. There's a lot of money on the table at the state and federal level. We want to make sure Kingsburg gets as much as possible. And then also into next year, we are hoping that, or we are hearing that earmark requests will stick around. They are supported at the bipartisan level. Republican members now with the executive and both houses in Congress. they want to keep funding coming back to their communities. So we are anticipating that again. Some of the funding might shift based on the majority party's priorities. Some funding might get shifted. We saw this in 2017 when the presidency shifted again. We are still seeing that they will be back though. This will really get us through March, the current continuing resolution, while Congress hashes out new leadership and new appropriations priorities. Of course, those issues come back to the state level too. With the budget, we'll be active monitoring everything that affects Kingsburg. One of those programs, the Surface Transportation Reauthorization. That was a lot of programs were put in with the Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act. That includes RAISE grants, reconnecting communities, and safe streets and roads for all. Those programs were huge for local governments, making sure that roads stay safe, updated, clean, and that will be reauthorized. We are expecting it will be reauthorized over the next year before the IIJA expires in 2026. Tax reform, of course, we are anticipating the Trump tax cuts to come back now that he is assuming the presidency in January. And some of those programs, the climate tax credits, salt reduction, or salt deduction, and disaster relief tax are all points of debate at the federal level for tax reform generally. An elections update, just a couple weeks after polls have closed. Proposition 4, the climate bond passed. Strong support from local governments and climate groups as well, getting funding to the entire state to build up resilience. And we've seen with wildfires, with flooding, trying to make sure that communities are hardened against any natural disasters. Proposition 5, the housing bond, unfortunately failed with, I think it only got about 45% of the vote. That was pushed for by housing groups. There are already discussions in Sacramento about bringing a new housing bond back for the next ballot. Rent control failed on the ballot as well. That one received only about 40% of the vote. We anticipate rent control measures will continue to come back. This one would have essentially limited or allowed for more flexibility on rent control. And then Prop 36 passed with overwhelming support, about 70% of voters supporting Prop 36. This went a little bit further than the governor's legislative package, really cracking down on retail theft and drug trafficking. Less on the necessarily diversion side, but more on increasing penalties. It actually created a new class of crime, the treatment mandated felony, where they are going to drug and mental health treatment, but it is creating essentially a new felony. This was put forward by the District Attorneys Association and California Business Roundtable in response to a lot of the stories about retail theft, smash and grabs, drug trafficking. Looking forward to working with the city again. Appreciate you letting me come down. We're happy to work with the city. Love coming down. And that will, of course, involve regular check-ins with city staff and the council, working on developing a platform for the city while we're up in Sacramento and out in Washington, D.C., getting input from the city on how we can best advocate for you, what your interests are, where they align, and getting, like I said earlier, getting as much funding back to the city as possible. Planning for 2025, that's going to be a lot of funding with the state budget kind of on the rocks. If there is funding out there, we want to be fishing as much as possible for funding for the city. Hopefully getting you out to Sacramento and DC as well, getting in front of members, agencies, staff, committees to tell your story. We can, of course, communicate that on our own, but it means a lot to members and staff hearing it from all of you. And then developing relationships with the new legislative delegation leadership. The new speaker and new Senate Pro Tem are managing their new members, and we want to make sure we're in the conversation as well. This is, of course, a little snapshot of our team, and I am available for any questions.
Started out with council questions or comments. No? We will open it up for any public comments. Do you have anybody from the public that would like to speak to it? Seeing none, we'll bring it back to council. Any final comments from staff or council on this?
No comments on the report. Just a reminder that this is separately but also related. This is an action item we are considering this evening. the extension of the contract for Townsend Public Affairs. So just to give some brief background, we entered into a contract with them 2 years ago after a lot of the federal funding was passed coming out of COVID relief. So we have engaged them for both lobbying and grant writing. For the last 2 years, they have been one-year agreements that have been approved each time. This time, staff is recommending that we move forward with lobbying efforts only. Most of that is just due to the fact that a lot of the lift for grant writing for staff is on our end. Townsend does a very good job, but a lot of the details have to come from us with regards to data and things like that. And so we think better served moving forward with just the lobbying efforts only. The previous amounts for both services was $6,500 a month, and the proposed amount going forward for lobbying is $6,000 per month. So staff is recommending council approve that, and then authorize the city manager to enter into a contract with Townsend Public Affairs contingent upon the city attorney's review. That concludes my report, but I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Okay, before we bring it up for motions, is there any other comments?
You have a question, Alex. Did you say a one-year contract again?
That's the proposal right now, is a one-year contract, but certainly if there's, if council wishes to entertain a different amount, that's at your discretion.
No, thank you.
Okay, my only comment on that is that I appreciate you guys. I think that, you know, this was a new relationship we built with you guys, and I'm happy with the product that we've received. I'm appreciative. I know that I've utilized you in an advocacy trip to Washington, D.C., which was great, and I'm thankful for that, and I think it's fruitful for us to make those trips, and you getting us through those doors matters a lot. So I can tell you that I appreciate that. Personally and professionally, I appreciate everything you guys are doing for the town. Do we have any other comments? If not, we'll entertain a motion.
Make the motion.
Second.
And just for clarification, we're making the recommendation for the lobbying services only to the city manager to execute the agreement. Is that correct?
Correct.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Carries, thank you. Look forward to another good year.
Absolutely, you as well.
Item 21 is the city engineer's report, presentation by city engineer Dave Peters.
Yeah, it's easy. Good evening, Mayor, members of the council. In your packet is a pretty comprehensive report on a lot of the things that we're working on. So I'll just kind of hit some of the highlights tonight. No, that's fine. Yeah, just no, the slides. Yeah, I just wanted to present some of the ongoing and completed projects that we're pursuing. These are some pictures I took today from the inside of the senior center where we're doing the kitchen remodel. So you can see it looks a lot different than it did before. I think it's coming out good. Taking a little bit longer. Procurement of sinks has been an issue, but we're hoping to get that resolved in the near future, get those installed, and then essentially we can move all the equipment back in after we get a county health department inspection. So very close, just waiting on materials to come in so we can complete the work. And you can stop me at any time if you have any questions. Couple of projects that are going on in the business park. The El Portrio Imports. It's a distribution warehouse, and we'll have a small showroom for Western wear. And then Strategic Industries has a two-story building going up at the same time. Some photos of our dog park. Tomorrow morning we'll be setting the prefabbed restroom. And they probably have about 2 weeks worth of work after we set the restroom, doing flat work, concrete work around the restroom to finish up the park. Our TOD project, we talked about this last week. It involved the bike lanes on Draper and then the curb extensions on Lewis Street. That project's completed. This is a photo of our photovoltaic system, solar panels that are going up at the PD station. So it'll be a parking lot installed solar system. Photos of our poured-in-place rubber and shade structure at Heritage Park. That's the last one? There should be one more, I think. Yep, and then lastly, a new restroom at Memorial Park. The conversion of the old restrooms is still ongoing, but that will essentially become a storage area for Public Works. Just a couple of other things in the report I wanted to highlight. Working on design of a new access road and utility extensions into the parcel north of the business park, the Matoyan parcel. We currently, I think now, own 3 acres up there, so we'll be extending a road and utilities into that area to facilitate development. On our development projects, I just want to give an update on Sinclair's, the gas station kind of remodel, I guess, at Simpson and Sierra Street. They submitted, a couple years ago, they submitted a site plan review. It was pretty kind of extravagant. They came in with a new revised site plan review, more, a little bit more modest renovation of that property, and now we hear that they're looking at it at a third time, so we're kind of waiting for a third redesign on that. And Quick Corner, we earlier this week approved their grading and site improvement plan, so we're hoping that kickstarts some activity out there. And then lastly, I'll be bringing to the council in late December, early January, amendments to our improvement standards, just to address some changes to our improvement standards we want to make. Won't be a complete redo, just some amendments to a few of the standards. And we're also working with SKF as they work to complete their master plan update. So with that, I can answer any questions.
Okay, thank you. Council discussion. Questions?
I have a question on J. SJBH TTM Willow Glen.
Yeah.
Is that west on Kern? I'm trying to picture where that is.
So
because
that
I know there's
is,
a
that is in
church
the
and-
southwest corner of 6th and Kern.
Okay.
So, yeah. I
So
don't have
behind
a
the
map
church?
with me.
Like behind that church?
Yeah, mostly kind of like to the west of it and then
Okay.
extending south. I believe the proposal that's on the table now is for around 97 lots, gated community.
Single-family homes or
Yeah,
multi?
single-family homes.
Okay.
We're just working with the developer. They're not quite ready to, I think, submit the tentative track and
Is it SJVH or is Willow
it's
Glen the developer?
San Joaquin Valley Homes is the applicant that we've been working with.
And it's called Willow Glen? Is that
They've
what-
named it Willow Glen. Yeah,
Okay.
that's the tentative name for that proposed track, so, yeah.
Thank you.
Mr. Peters, getting back to the senior center, I know
Yes.
that they had a new sink installed in the old kitchen
Yes.
that wasn't very old. Could that be a temporary option until the new sink comes in?
Not really. So that sink was installed so that they could have some temporary, facilities during the remodel. So they use that, not really for food prep, but for washing utensils and that kind of stuff. That is going to actually be, once this is completed and they move back into the kitchen, that sink will be modified into what's called a mop sink.
Okay.
So there's a use for that back there. But yeah, that's like they have to kind of fall back once they move out of that area, fall back and do a little work there. But, yeah.
Thank you.
You have a question also on the
Yes.
senior center, Dave. When's that going to be completed, you said? About around
Yeah,
that?
so we're hoping, and this is based on discussions I've had with the contractor. We're hoping within a few weeks we can get the materials, the sink, and then we're looking at about 2 weeks after that to finish it. So theoretically, it could be done by the end of the year.
Okay.
It's
and-
just when we can get that whole back wall is just like one big stainless steel 3-compartment sink, and so it's it's not something you just buy at Home Depot. It's commercial kitchen equipment. So.
And now we called a consultant or somebody to draw the plans for this?
Yeah, we had an architect do the plans.
Architect, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And how close are we to the architect's plans? Is it pretty close?
No, the architect's design is done. Those were used to obtain the permit not only from our building department but also from the Fresno County Health Department. So the design's done, and the permits have been issued, and the contractor's just doing performing the work. We have to have both our building department and the health department come in when the job is complete, just to do like a final inspection. But yeah, the plans are all done. That's not anything that's.
Yeah, I'm just wondering, is there any modifications to those plans? Did they have to make any modifications or anything?
I don't think so. I think it's just getting we know what we need. It's just getting your hands on it. So it was ordered a while ago. It's just taking a while. So we're seeing not only on architectural remodels, but in a lot of the things that we do, we're seeing like light poles they'll tell you 50 weeks out. I mean, this kind of doesn't make any sense, but that's just what the procurement time on some of this stuff is. So, yeah.
I see. Okay.
Yeah, but I did talk to the contractor today. He is going to look for an alternate source to get what we need. So
yeah, okay.
So if he can find someone who can get it to us quicker, then said he would cancel that other order and switch gears. But yeah, we're hoping that we're only a couple weeks away. I know everybody's very anxious to get that completed and get back in. And I was in there today. It's coming out really nice. It's just just want to get it wrapped up and get it done. So.
Right. Okay. Second question I have is Dean's Truck Stop.
Yeah.
That's Parkway Drive in Cam.
Yeah. So that's kind of way out there. That's by Kingsburg Truck Center, I think is what it's called. It's a pretty large facility. It's proposed both north and south of Cam Avenue, so it would be on the north side of Cam, on the same side of Cam as the truck stop, but then also they have a portion of the project that's proposed to be on the south side of Cam. So, I think the best way to describe it would be like a Love's style truck stop. At least that's what they've shared with us so far, where you've got truck fueling facilities, truck stop, showers, all that stuff. But then you also have, the automobile fueling stuff. I think they were proposing some sort of a little rec area with a dog park and that kind of stuff. So that's what they showed us, and we kind of a portion of it's in the county, a portion of it's in the city. So we kind of said we got to work out who's going to be the lead, and I'm not sure all those details have been worked out yet.
And that was my next question. So we have to annex some of that property in the city?
That's a possibility, I think. Is it in our sphere? No, it may not be in our sphere. So there are some complications with that.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I had somebody approach me about that a while back. And,
yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, we're expecting it to come back at some point.
All right, thank you.
Yeah.
Any other council questions? If not, we'll open it up for public comment. Do we have any members of the public that would like to comment on this? Bringing it back for council discussion. If there's any last closing remarks? Okay. If not, this is an informational only, so thank you, Dave. Up next is future agenda items, of which we have none listed, and we will move on to the city manager's report.
Just a reminder with regards to the police department is hosting a situational awareness class on November 25th, so it's next Monday from 6 to 9 at the PD, and so they are asking folks that are interested to sign up online so they have an idea on numbers. But other than that, that's all I have.
Thank you. Now we'll do council member reports and committee reports, starting with council member Silva.
Thank you. Make sure my microphone's on. So last week, it's feast or famine. Last week I didn't have much, but this week it seems like I have quite a bit. Other than the economic development and the SKS did not meet, SKGSA did not meet, but the Kingsburg Healthcare District did meet on the 13th. Crestwood gave their presentation for their new solar project that they're putting on Crestwood. They also would like to renew their 10-year lease option on that building, which was approved also. So Crestwood will be in the city for another 10 years. And then I did go to the Senior Center Harvest dinner and or luncheon. Very well attended. Seniors Inc. was amazing running that event. There had to be over 100 people there. Their membership has grown to around, I was talking with Gary, around 215-ish residents, so that's good. The senior center's thriving. And then last night, as I had mentioned earlier in council meeting, I did was invited to the car show committee meeting. It was their first meeting, and they are expecting a very, very good event. They came off of a wonderful event last year. If you guys remember, it was like over 376 cars, I think it was, something like that. And the event was amazing. They expect to be well over 400 cars this year. I will tell you that they are looking for volunteers, as always. They're looking to the community to help, set up barricades in the morning, assist with registration, just looking for people that want to, give back to the community and volunteer a little bit of their time. They're also looking for judges and quite a few things. I do have a car show sponsorship form. They're looking for sponsors as well. It kind of lines out what you get for the dollar amount. And so they do have a couple sponsors already, title sponsor and a secondary sponsor. So they're ahead of the ballgame, which I thought was amazing. They're really hitting the ground running already. And the managing committee member is Adrian Perez, and he's doing a good job, and along with Tammy Dooley and Wade and another gentleman by the name of Mike was there last night. So they're looking for more people to sit on the committee, and they're looking for volunteers. So with that concludes my report.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor Pro Tem.
Public safety. We met last week, and we had Lieutenant Stevens come in and give us an update on our police department's body cams and their dash cams, which are now fully in use. And then we continued discussion on allocating of the funds for the Public Safety Committee, which we're going to continue discussion on that. And then Planning Commission met last Thursday night. The Planning Commission approved 44 allocations for single-family units here in Kingsburg, and that is on Cam and what? Is it cross street there, Holly? Cam is 6, yeah, for 44 units in Kingsburg. And voted, as you all know, with all the public comment tonight, voted to not recommend the rezoning of 4 parcels for high-density units. And then SKF, we met November 14th also. The board voted to approve a sewer rehabilitation project in Salma, and it was awarded to JTZ Incorporated. And then we approved a purchase of a generator that SKF needed, a new generator. And that's it.
Awesome, thank you. Councilmember North.
Well, I think Bid and Chamber did my updates tonight at our meeting. Bid, you saw the trash cans, they're all downtown, so their meeting was this morning, and then their next one is here at 8 a.m. on December 3rd. Chamber, we already had their update. We met last Thursday. Their next meeting is on December 10th, 7 a.m. at the Chamber. And then last week, I worked with Centerpoint District. They're a really great resource for us, formerly known as 5 Cities, JPA. and linked them up with the chamber, and they're able to really work with them on the situation that they're going through, get them some guidance. They have lawyers that would not cost the chamber money, but they also were able to get a lot of resources to move forward and have a lot more to offer their chamber members in the future. So that's it.
Councilmember Smith?
The Finance Committee hasn't met. Our next meeting is December 23rd. And then Community Services has been canceled until January. I would like to mention that last Saturday, the city hosted, or Kingsburg High School hosted here in town, the regional competition for band, and Kingsburg took first place in that. And I'd like to say thank you to the city for your role in assisting the high school. The police and fire were out there, and 18th was closed for a while. It went real smoothly. I've heard a lot of positive feedback, and the head of the Music Boosters was just thrilled with the way that came together. Tomorrow night at 8:30 in the Bowl, the high school band and color guard will be doing a performance, the last one here in town. And on Saturday, they're going to be competing for the state in the regional, or in the grand championship. And that is, nicely enough, hosted in Fresno. So we're excited to go see that. That's it.
Awesome, thank you. For mine, we have Rural Transit Authority and Council of Governments is meeting tomorrow night, and I'll have an update after that. Do we have any other council member reports or staff reports? Okay, then what we are going to do is we're going to adjourn into a closed session meeting where we can talk about some labor negotiations for the KPSEA and KPOA. Thank you.
You got to root for CBC this week, right?
What's that?
You got to root for CBC this week.
Of course I am. Yeah, I am. They're our league, so why not? You know,
What happened at the end of the game? I heard they
So
got robbed.
my uncle was there. My friend had a 60th birthday party that I didn't miss. I couldn't miss my friend's 60th. But
They put time back on the clock.
here's what I heard happened.
Yeah.
We held them.
What is that, Golden West, right?
Yeah.